Hello everybody, welcome into another lesson. So today we are going to talk about multiplying complex numbers. So you can also multiply them just like you can add them and subtract them. You can even divide them, which will be a separate lesson from this. But when you multiply, again, you're going to treat this a lot like a variable problem. So you have the I times the quantity of 3 plus I. Well, you're just going to use the distributive property, so this would give you 3I plus I squared. However, we're not done yet. The 3I we can't do anything with, but the I squared, what was I squared if we remember from the first lesson? That's -1. So this would turn into 3I minus 1, but we're still not done because we have to write this in standard form. If we remember right, the standard form of a complex number from the very last lesson was you take your real number first plus your imaginary number. So this would turn into -1 plus 3I. That would be the standard form of the complex number. You would end up getting -1 plus 3I. So it's okay at first to do all this when you're working out the problem, but your final answer should always be in standard form. All right, now, what if we had, let's see, so we have 4I times the quantity of 6 minus I. So we got 4I times the quantity of 6 minus I. Well, let's go ahead and distribute. So 4I times 6 is 24I. Then 4I times -I, that'd be minus 4I squared. All right, but we're not done yet. Whoops, I forgot the I for the 24. So you would have 24I minus 4 times what is I squared? That's -1. So this would turn into 24I plus 4, but it's not in standard form. We need to switch these around because your real number should come first, then your imaginary number. So the standard form would end up being 4 plus 24I. That would be the proper answer. In standard form you would get is 4 plus 24I. All right. Let's see, -10 times the quantity of 4 plus 7I. I'm sorry, it's -10I. Excuse me. I knew it looked too simple. -10I times 4 plus 7I. Well, still go ahead, do your distributive property. So -10I times 4 would be -40I. Then -10I times 7I, so that'd be minus 70I squared. So now you have -40I minus 70I squared. Well, see, you'll still have -40I. We can't do much with that. Minus 70 times your I squared. I squared is -1. This is going to turn into -40I plus 70. But in standard form, you would write this as 70 minus 40I. So the answer you would get is 70 minus 40I for the complex number in standard form. All right. We got two quantities. So 5 plus I, that quantity times the quantity of 8 plus I. So now we have two quantities being multiplied. Well, you're still going to do it like you would a FOIL with a variable. So what is 5 times 8? That's 40. Plus 5 times I, that'd be plus 5I. Plus I times 8, that'd be plus 8I. Plus I times I, that'd be plus I squared. So you'd start out with 40 plus 5i plus 8i plus I squared, which would end up giving you 40 plus 13i. Now what is I squared? That's actually negative 1. So you have 40 plus 13i minus 1, which in standard form, this would be 39 plus 13i. So the complex number in standard form would be 39 plus 13i. All right, let's see. We got negative 1 plus 2i. That quantity times 11 minus I. So we can still FOIL and expand this out. So negative 1 times 11 turns into negative 11. Negative 1 times negative I, that's plus I. Then we have 2i times 11, that'd be plus 22i. And then 2i times negative I, that'd be minus 2i squared. So now once we've FOILed, we have negative 11 plus I plus 22i minus 2i squared. Well, so let's see, we'll have negative 11 plus 23i. Now we have minus 2 times I squared. I squared is negative 1. So this would turn into negative 11 plus 23i plus 2, which in standard form, negative 11 plus 2 is negative 9. You would end up with negative 9 plus 23i as the solution in standard form. Negative 9 plus 23i. All right. We have the quantity of 2 minus 9i times the quantity of 9 minus 6i. All right, so still, let's go ahead and FOIL. So 2 times 9 is 18. Then 2 times negative 6i, that'd be minus 12i. Then negative 9i times 9, that'd be minus 81i. Then negative 9i times negative 6i, that's plus 54i squared. So now we FOIL this out, we get 18 minus 12i minus 81i plus 54i squared. Well, you'll still have the 18. Now negative 12 minus 81, that'd be minus 93i. And then plus 54 times the I squared. Well, what is 54 times I squared? That'd be 54 times negative 1. So this would give me 18 minus 93i minus 54. So the number in standard form would be negative 36 minus 93i. This will turn into negative 36 minus 93i for the complex number in standard form. I have about 3 more for this one. We have 7 plus 5i, that quantity, times 7 minus 5i. So we have the quantity of 7 plus 5i times the quantity of 7 minus 5i. We should be able to spot this by now that this would just turn into a difference of 2 squares, right? So 7 times 7 is 49. Obviously your middle terms are going to cancel out, but 5i times negative 5i, that'd be minus 25i squared. So you have 49 minus 25i squared. which would give you 49 minus 25 times what is I squared? That's negative 1. So this actually turns into 49 plus 25, which is simply 74. So this time you got a real number. You got the answer to be 74 for that. All right, I got two more. We have the quantity of 3 plus 10i raised to the second power. So we got the quantity of 3 plus 10i raised to the second power. Well, treat this like you would expanding a normal binomial to the second power. 3 to the second power, of course, is 9. Plus we'll take 2 times the 3 times the 10i plus that 10i squared, that'd be plus 100i squared. So this would turn into 9. So let's see, 6 times plus 60i plus 100. Now, what is I squared? That'd be 100 actually times negative 1. So this would turn into 9 plus 60i minus 100, which would end up giving you negative 91 plus 60i. So this simplifies into negative 91 plus 60i when you have this in standard form. All right, one more. We have the quantity of 15 minus 8i raised to the second power. So we have 15 minus 8i, that quantity raised to the second power. So what is 15 to the second power? Well, that's 225. Now plus 2 times your 15 times your negative 8i plus your negative 8i to the second power, that'd be plus 64i to the second power. Alright, so this will simplify into 225. 2 times 15 is 30. Times negative 8, that would be minus 240i plus 64 times I squared, which would be plus 64 times negative 1. So this will turn into 225 minus 240i minus 64. So in standard form, this would be 161 minus 240i. That is going to be the complex number in standard form, 161 minus 240i. So for doing these, it's important to remember your cyclicness of I, where I to the first is 1, I to the second is, I to the first is I to the second is negative 1. Very important for these. I to the third is negative I, then I to the fourth is positive 1. It's important to remember the cycles. And then you just treat this like you were expanding out a variable, only if you have an I squared term, you substitute in the negative 1 for where the I squared is. So that's it for this lesson. Next lesson we'll talk about the quotient of two complex numbers. So I hope everyone has a great day. Take care.